I was very pleased when Victoria asked me just to give a little summary, a little description of a recent trip I've made to Israel, or very recently actually, just a couple of weeks ago. And it really was very amazing. It was an extraordinary event. It all started quite a few, well, not quite a few years ago, actually 2 years ago, in 2021, where this wonderful lady, Eva Wasserman, invited me to judge an international clarinet competition that she was organising. Eva is a clarinetist extraordinaire. She was born in America, but has spent most of her life in Israel. She has been principal in the Haifa Symphony Orchestra, but mostly she is just a wonderful teacher, and all the top players in Israel seem to be students of Eva's. Anyway, she was my host there, and set the whole trip up, which was fascinating. Obviously I had to fly there. The fly to Israel actually is really very exciting. You fly over Greece, and the central photo there is one of the Greek islands, and over mountains and greenery and all sorts of interesting lands. Anyway, I found myself then in Tel Aviv, which is where Eva lives. My very first day, it was extraordinary because it was snowing here when I left. You may remember that about 3 weeks ago. And when I arrived there, it was just a lovely summer's day. And on the way to her apartment, first of all, we stopped off at Ron's Nut Shop. There you can see it on the left. And he just lived down the bottom of the road, where Eva's apartment was, and so we visited it many times. And just across the road there were lemon trees and kumquat trees, and that was really rather nice. The first day, and I was really invited there to do mostly a lot of teaching, a lot of master classes. And the first day we were at the Kfar Saba Conservatory. I went to 4 different conservatories there. And a lot of the players in this particular conservatoire were younger. They were younger players, and I heard some wonderful playing. This is Nurit Bloom on the left, who is one of the main teachers there herself, a pupil of Eva's, and she had some wonderful young players there, and we had a very nice long afternoon. Where we were working together. I must have heard more 7 or 8 young players playing all sorts of interesting things. You know, we had Nielsen and Cromer, and some important pieces, and also some music that I didn't know, which was this, a Fantasia by Sarah Fagan, which I've brought back with me, and indeed I'm going to include this in the next concert I give coming up quite soon. Another piece I met there, which I'm going to also introduce to you shortly. The afternoon ended with a performance rather nicely of my Clarinet Wise, which Nurit had created by a group of players. So I thought we might have a quick listen to it. The next day was very interesting. The big climax of my trip there was going to be a performance of my clarinet quintet at the Jerusalem Academy, played by Danny Erdman, who is playing in the middle of that group on the right. Danny, another one of Eva's pupils, students, is principal clarinet in the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra. On the left, you can see the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra just the end of a rehearsal. And in fact, they have their own wonderful building where they rehearse in Jerusalem. And at the in the middle of this day, they had an hour and a half's break, and very delightfully, they were rehearsing my quintet. So I was invited to just hear a little bit of their rehearsal, which is what's taking place on the right. And here's just a tiny little snippet of that rehearsal. The next day, I was off to the Israel Conservatory of Music in Tel Aviv, and had a great time here. Again, some old favourites. Nielsen, Sanson, Hofmeister came up again, but also some interesting new music that I hadn't heard before, and. Well, it again. I've taken a. It was actually written out by hand, but I've taken a copy of it, and I'm going to play that at my next recital as well. And so the final day was this exciting experience at the Jerusalem Academy of Music and Dance. It was a slightly concerning day because there was going to be a major demonstration in Jerusalem that day. And you know, these demonstrations that are going on now in Israel, they're unhappy that they're taking place, and this one was going to be attracting about 250,000 people, which would have made this day almost not happen. But in fact, it was postponed, so we managed to get into Jerusalem, up to the Jerusalem Academy, and the class there was very exciting. It was the class first, and then the concert in the evening. And I worked with a number of young players, and they were very, very high standard. Moshe, who is on the right of the picture on the left, did a wonderful performance, or we were working together at the Debussy Rhapsody. There was some Brahms, there was some Maksinsky, Mozart. It was great, and I did a little bit of we did a bit of work actually on not exactly analysing the Brahms, but I just love the Brahms's composition and how everything kind of grows from other things, and so I was explaining how some of the ideas that for example come in the left hand of the piano are then taken over by the clarinet and create melody and create development. And then the other picture is some of the players that I was working with. They were terribly enthusiastic. And here is the Jerusalem Quintet again, from the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra, and that's Danny Erdmann, who did this wonderful performance of my quintet, the Nine Muses. It was a world premiere actually, and in fact we're going to publish it soon, and I hope it will be of some interest. But here just is the first few bars, which Eva recorded, and the last few bars.